All right, welcome back. So next, I'll be showing us the checkbox. The checkbox. Sorry, we just checked the checkbox. I'll be showing us the radio buttons. By the way, I just added a little inline style here to make our form, kind of a bit, to kind of just make it a bit centered, aligned, so to say. So let me just do. Okay, let me leave this one. So I just added a little of CSS inline style, which is something you should not bother about for now. When you get to CSS, you understand it, and I'm sure you'll be able to do far better or far more fancier styles than this. I'm not adding any just two styles I added. And if I save, this is what I have for now. This is what I have. The form is centered to the middle of the page. All right, now so we've seen the checkbox already. How you can select a few options. If I submit here, I pick football and golf. Let's submit and see what we have. Oh, sorry, I didn't submit. I pick football and golf and I submit form. So why is okay? My laptop, I guess. All right, now look at every other thing is empty, but when we go to football is on. Golf is also what set to on. The last one was not there. Basketball is not there, but the ones we pick they are set to on. So that is the way that the backend developer would accessing it. The backend user will understand that the person ticked the football and the golf, but didn't tick the other ones. So let's go back and now play with our radio button. All right, now so let's add the radio button down here. Okay, so still before I submit button. Now the only difference between a radio button and a checkbox is let's also add should I say an header h3 that says um highest qualification since it's a site for job seekers. What's the highest qualification? So we're going to have input. So we're going to have the label. First of all, let's see if I can copy this. Let's just copy this and no, let me copy one. So I paste this, and then this time we don't have it as checkbox, we have it as radio. Can you see? Radio. So the label, the first one is SSCE, Senior School Certificate, Senior School Certificate, or I think they call it O level certificate. Okay, full attribute we set to, let's call it SSCE. The name will be called SSCE as well, and ID will also be called SSCE. Let them just match each other like that. So we're going to copy this and duplicate it since this is close to what we want. So we probably could have OND next. The person might be an OND. I mean, in Nigeria, OND is Ordinary National Diploma, I believe. I mean, probably you're not from Nigeria, and maybe in your own country you have other ways, other languages for academic qualifications. You can use whatever suits your location. But in Nigeria, OND is one of those qualifications that people have. It's called like ordinary national diploma. So I will just have this as OND as well. What else are we not changing? Is there any other thing that 5% radio? All right, the next one we'll be having is HND. The HND. Let's copy this OND rather. I think this OND is closer to what we want. So the next is HND qualification. name set to HND and ID also set to HND. And this lastly we can now have BSc. BSc. The label as well set to BSc. Excuse me. We set the name attribute as well to BSc, and then our ID. We've not really used ID for anything in HTML. Like I said, it's until we get to CSS before we know the usefulness of ID. So for now, we have an issue that says highest qualification. We're asking the user, the job seeker, to pick his or her highest qualification, and we have, I think, about different elements. Now, there is something wrong with what I did, but I will just save it the way we've been used to, and I'm going to refresh, and you're going to see. Okay, highest qualification. Now I can tick on OND and tick on HND at the same time, which is wrong. The idea is for the user to be able to select just one. By the time I'm selecting O level as my highest qualification, I can't have O level as my highest qualification and still have HND as my highest qualification. Now, what makes the radio button different from the checkbox and every other is that unlike every other whereby you have various name attributes, like in the checkbox, for each of them we had name attributes that are different, just like we've had all through. The checkbox is the only one, sorry, the radio button is the only one that every option you are having there, every of the options you're going to have there, they must have the same name attribute. So instead of me having SSCE, OND, HND, BSc, it will not work that way. I will have to give all of them the same name attribute. So we'll just give it to we'll give it an attribute of um qualification. Qualification, and lastly this qualification. So if I save this time around, I refresh, you will see that it will work as intended. You can't speak more than once. If I'm selecting O level, I can't select HND at the same time. Can you see that once I click this one toggles off. Now remember I told you the importance of label. I can click on this as just this text. It picks it for me. I don't have to target this box. If I just click on the label text, it automatically picks it. I click on HND, it clicks. If I click on the box also, it works. That's the advantage of always ensuring that you have the label ID. So the label for attribute match the ID attributes of the input. So this is just, it's very simple. This is just how. Now let's try to submit this. Just these two. We have our checkbox, but we're picking golf and then we're selecting OND, or let's select BSc. Now I submit. It's submitting to a fake server, and it's going to pop out error message, of course, because it's a fake server. But then we can read the data here, the user data here. Golf set to on, qualification set to on. No, qualification should not be set to on actually. Let me see, something is missing. Okay, I think there's one thing I forgot to add, and that is the value attribute. If you notice now, once we set all of them, we give the same name to every of the options, and that is why the checkbox is working the way. But then let's go back again, refresh the page, and try it again. Because we set the name, all of them, we give them the same name attribute. Once we click one, the other can't be clicked. So in this case, if I'm clicking BSc, the others can't be clicked. But if I'm picking HND this time around, this one goes off. So now we submit again. But unfortunately, if you notice, qualification is set to on. But we want to be able at the shall I say, we want at the back end to be able to read the information. How do we know the user's qualification? And that leads to the next attribute, that with something we don't often add, but one of the places where we add it compulsorily is on our radio button, and that is the value attribute. So for each of them, we're going to add the value attributes, and the value attribute here is going to do the work of the name. So value, now we're going to set the value to SSCE. Value, we set the value to all of them, just like we've been doing for the name attribute for all of them. In this case, you set the name attribute to the same thing, but then you add a value attribute. The value attribute now takes the place of the name. The same task the name has been doing initially, the value attribute is the one that will do it in the radio button. Value HND, and lastly value set to BSC. BSC. So this time around, we save, we refresh, we submit again, and then I'm sure at this point we'll be able to read our information properly. All right, now let's submit again. I submit, click the form to submit. Takes us to my server. You can see qualification now is set to HND. So I believe it's very straightforward and very simple. For the radio buttons, ensure that compulsorily you don't just have the name, but ensure that the name for all the options are the same, and then add a value attribute which specifies what value exactly or what exactly the user clicks. And of course, you should always don't not forget to have your label for each of them, just like we've been doing as well. All right, so see you in the next video.